Minister Andrew Rosindell.
Thank you, Sir John. As always, it's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, and I would like to congratulate the honourable member for the cities of London and Westminster on securing this timely debate today, marking International Day of Democracy, and I absolutely endorse her words about Jimmy Lai on behalf of His Majesty's opposition. Her constituent should be released immediately. And it is right, Sir John, that this debate is brought to the floor of the House today, and that we all pause and reflect about the centrality of democracy, which in various forms runs right the way through our own national story, and to the principles we, the United Kingdom, hold dear across the world. The United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland is the birthplace of parliamentary democracy. Our history, our institutions, our very identity as a nation is bound up by that great achievement of democracy. The story of our constitution, the balance between Crown and Parliament, and the empowerment of the individual through common law was a British innovation that has evolved organically over many centuries. By the good fortune of our history and the wisdom of our forebears, we achieved a parliamentary system which blends monarchy, an upper chamber, including the state church, the judiciary, science, the armed forces, academia and business. And of course, we have the vehicle to represent the popular will of the people here in this democratically elected House of Commons. So despite what some would describe as anachronisms of history, I believe we in this country have a model parliamentary democracy. And at the heart of our democracy is the principle of parliamentary sovereignty. Our people, through their elected representatives, are the final authority. That is the cornerstone of our freedom. But, Sir John, Britain's democratic reach extends far beyond these islands. From the very outset of our imperial past, England, then Great Britain, and then the United Kingdom, was able to replicate the best of our democratic traditions to the far reaches of the planet. In many of our former colonies, the right to vote was established and extended even more broadly than it was at the same time here in the United Kingdom. And the Commonwealth of Nations embodies these very democratic principles. 56 nations bound together not by force, but by the free choice and by the shared democratic values enshrined by the Commonwealth Charter. And I believe this is such an undervalued institution, and to have its headquarters a mere few minutes' walk from here where we sit today is now surely the envy of any Western democracy. I read with great interest the Westminster Foundation for Democracy's briefing ahead of this debate, an organisation which I was proud to serve as a board member for 9 years and have worked with WFD for 20 to 30 years. It was established by the government of John Major following the fall of the Berlin Wall and the Iron Curtain. At the time, Margaret Thatcher was our Prime Minister, whose 100th anniversary of her birth we commemorate next month on the 13th of October. And as we all know, Mrs. Thatcher was a courageous leader who was not afraid to oppose communism and stood up for freedom and democracy in Europe, resulting in an end to the communist tyranny that dominated the eastern side of the continent. In fact, I myself established a freedom training programme in 1993 with the support of the Westminster Foundation for Democracy through the Conservative Party International Office and the European Young Conservatives that I chaired at the time, to help spread the ideas of free people, free nations and free markets, democracy and a rule of law, doing all of this via the sister parties. Now, the Labour Party and the Liberal Democrats and all political parties did the same. And I worked with countries from Estonia, Poland and Lithuania, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Armenia, to Belarus, where I launched the Free Belarus campaign in 1997, Romania, Bulgaria, Slovakia, Moldova, Albania, as well as Ukraine and Russia itself. And even to nations as far away as Argentina, a country that regained its democracy after Margaret Thatcher ensured the defeat of the military dictatorship in 1982 by the forces of the Crown in the South Atlantic. I'm afraid I won't, because we're very limited on time. If I may continue, Sir John. Britain, I believe, should do more to strengthen international democracy, and the Commonwealth is a perfect vehicle for that. We have seen a queue of nations, particularly on the African continent, who want to join the Commonwealth, a good example of which is Togo, and I am proud to have assisted that nation's accession to the Commonwealth, which formally took place in 2022, following my visit to Togo in 2019. And so I asked the Minister, what is the government doing to assist the Commonwealth with its operations abroad? Surely the Commonwealth should be central to this government's strategy in promoting democracy and our democratic traditions abroad. We are also seeing the rise of authoritarian regimes around the world. The People's Republic of China, Russia, Iran, amongst others, the leaders of whom were together in a show of force in Beijing only a fortnight ago. These are countries that pose a serious threat to democracy around the world. So I ask the Minister, why is the government willing to give the world's leading authoritarian country the largest embassy in Europe and a base to spy on its dissenting citizens, those who simply disagree with Chinese communism? These nations have openly expressed their intent on reshaping the international system. So, how is Britain making use of its seat on the UN Human Rights Council to push back against those who would seek to water down our democratic norms? And of course, there is the matter of the Chagos Islands. The government denied the Chagossian people any form of serious consultation over the future of their homeland, and ultimately decided to hand their islands, which belong to them, over to a nation in cahoots with China. Will the Minister reflect on the discussion we have had today and give the Chagossian people the democratic right that I believe they are entitled to, that all of us, regardless of party, are supporting today to determine their own future? That is democracy. Decolonisation must mean giving self-determination to those whose homeland it is. And why should our loyal and God-fearing British Chagossian friends be denied that right as well? And may I, in closing, Sir John, mention the horrifying events, as many members have done today, which took place in the United States of America last week. Charlie Kirk's murder was, I believe, an affront to the democratic values that have bound our two nations together for hundreds of years. Of course, members across the House may not have agreed with Charlie's views on a number of issues. We all disagree on all kinds of issues, but the reality is that this place is a place where we can discuss our differences and the pursuit of truth in well-intentioned debate without intimidation, hatred and violence. And so I believe it is fitting to conclude with a quote from Charlie which sums him up best, someone who I actually met. He came to the House of Commons and I gave him a tour in 2008, and he went to Speaker's House for a Christian celebration. And so may I quote from Charlie today in ending my comments, because I believe that what he said encapsulates the very issue we are discussing today. And he said this: when people stop talking, really bad stuff starts. When marriages stop talking, divorce happens. When civilizations stop talking, civil war ensues. When you stop having a human connection with someone you disagree with, it becomes a lot easier to want to commit violence against them. What we as a culture have to get back to is being able to have reasonable disagreement where violence is not an option.